Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. Charlie here. Today I'm going to answer a few of the questions that I've received from you, the viewers, in order to get to know me a little bit better. So let's dive right into it. I have the questions right here on my phone, and I'm going to be going through just kind of one by one, no holds barred. So the first question I got is, how did you get into technology? You know, I wasn't one of those kids who had a computer since they were 6 years old and, whose parents worked in tech. Both my parents were teachers, and I got my first computer when I was 13 years old. And I never really tried programming, though I did love spending a lot of time on the computer. And it wasn't until I got to college that I got into computer science. And actually, I didn't get into computer science until my senior year of college, believe it or not. So before I got into computer science, I was a animal science and biology major, which means that I was working with animals every day, and I really thought that I wanted to become a veterinarian. I'd grown up around animals my whole life. My mom had a farm for a few years. My aunt runs a dairy farm in Wisconsin, and I just figured, hey, why don't I just go into animal science? It's pretty fun. I really like the material. I got good grades, and it was sort of the thing that I thought I wanted to do. But when it came time to graduate, when I was getting to my senior year, I realized that maybe it wasn't the right path for me. I wasn't super close to anybody in my major, and I always felt I had this nerdier / creative side to me that I didn't really feel I got to express in this field. However, I had a few friends who were computer science majors, and one of the homework assignments that I saw my friend Andrew working on was this assignment where he had to program ambulances routing around Manhattan, and you could track these little dots floating around the map and moving from one location to another. And he wrote all the code behind it and had this nice graphical interface where you could see the map and you could see the dots moving around. And I thought that was so cool because it was something just so unique. I also saw a homework assignment where they had this 3D Rubik's Cube floating around in space, and they had to program an algorithm to solve it. I was like, wow, this is amazing. I was an engineer. I didn't have an engineering background. I didn't think I could do it. But I then decided one summer to get my first computer science course instead of doing an internship at a veterinary hospital, a very prestigious hospital in New York City. And that ended up being the best decision I made in my life, because when I took that programming course, I fell in love. I went from knowing nothing about coding to understanding the fundamentals of writing your first programs in Java. I learned memorized all the names of functions and static void main. And it was such a wonderful experience that the next year I spoke to my advisor in animal science, and I told her, hey, listen, I don't think I can do this anymore. I'm gonna switch to computer science. And she was super supportive. Thank you for that. And then I switched to computer science. And I packed my schedule senior year with a bunch of courses from CS. And then the following year, because I felt like I hadn't really completed all the education I wanted, I applied to the Masters of Engineering program at Cornell University, which is my alma mater, and did a 1-year Masters of Engineering, which allowed me to take all the additional computer science classes like AI, machine learning, operating systems, algorithms that I hadn't taken as an undergrad. So that was my journey into computer science. I then worked at a fintech company in New York City for about a year. I quit, tried to do my own startup for 9 months, quit that, and then got a job at Google, and that's where I've been for the past 7 years. So that's the roundabout story of how I got into tech. My next question is, why did you choose AI? So one thing that I love about the AI field is how the artificial intelligence field is something that's going to be growing exponentially over time. Because without AI and machine learning, the only kind of programs we can write are programs that are deterministic, meaning that they do exactly what you program them to do, and they're predictable. They're binary too, so you'll have an if statement, and either you hit that if statement or you don't. But it's very difficult when you're dealing with the real world, where everything is just really probabilities and statistics, to model those inside of a program and figure out what those probabilities are. And sure, you could go and do the data analysis yourself and hard code those probabilities, but machine learning is kind of automated statistics. And be able to put this inside of a program allows you to create really beautiful and complex systems that you wouldn't be able to create otherwise. Things like teaching computers to see or to read, or to self-drive. And so AI I just saw as this huge opportunity. It was also a field that has been blowing up a lot because a lot of the educational resources are public and they're free. There's a lot of amazing free online courses. I made a whole video about this that I published this past week about like the courses that I took to get into machine learning. The people in the field are very welcoming to new entrants into this domain. It's not like, all fun and games all the time. It can be very frustrating to write a machine learning program that every time you retrain it, like it performs better or worse. It can be tough to model these problems just like in your head. Like it can just be very difficult to frame problems. So it's not something that's like easy by any means. It's very, very challenging. But I find it very, very fun. And I mean, personally, I also really I grew up playing a lot of video games, and AI is like a very core part of video games, like for bots that you play against in like chess or in like Halo, or all the modern cheat software for, let's not talk about that. And I wrote like an artificial intelligence bot to solve chess as like a side project, and like, look at what DeepMind's doing. They're making software that solves Go and StarCraft. And I think that stuff is super exciting. I could work on that in my spare time if I had the compute to do that. That's what I have this computer back here for, which is to hopefully one day run these algorithms in my spare time. But right now I spend all my time doing that kind of work in Google Research during my day job. The next question I got is, what shampoo do you use, from Nathan? Okay, well, thanks, Nathan. I guess the shampoo I use is actually Hims, which is not sponsored or anything by them, but it's just a shampoo that helps me supposedly keep my hair, because I'm in my 30s now and my hair's falling out. So this is a good way for it to stay on my head just a little bit longer. Okay, so the next question I got from Safe is, where did you go to college and how old were you? So funny story is I actually went to 2 colleges. When I graduated from high school at 17, I went for 1 year at McAllister College, which is a small liberal arts school in Minnesota. After that year, I transferred into Cornell University, which is in upstate New York, where I finished my bachelor's degree in animal science and computer science, and then did my master's as well in computer science. So someone asked me, how does Google treat you? I mean, obviously everything I say is my own opinion, but I think that Google treats me pretty well. As far as jobs that I've had, it's really the best one. I really enjoy many of the topics I've worked on. I've had the opportunity to work on many different teams. Google's pretty good about letting you go from one team or one project to another. And the projects that I've been on have been pretty chill, no crazy deadlines. I've never had to maybe around research publication times, but that's very rare. Most of the time it's pretty good lifestyle, good work-life balance. And there's just so many things you can work on at Google if you're a software engineer that you can always find a project that fits your interests. So I would say it's a great place to work, and I think everyone should work there for at least a few years. Google was modeled after a university. It's kind of like a university where they have a campus and cafeterias and clubs. It's pretty wild how big it is. It's over 100,000 employees now, and yeah, it's the best job I've ever had. And last but not least, how do you drink your coffee? So I'm one of those people who's really sensitive to caffeine. If I drink coffee after 2 p.m., I just can't sleep that night. And I'm one of those people who really values good sleep. I always try to get 8 hours of sleep minimum. If I get less than 8 hours, I'm gonna have a bad day. I just know it. And if I ever have a night of staying up late and it's 4 a.m., I'll sleep until noon or 1 p.m. just to get those 8 hours in. But on the topic of coffee, when I do drink it, because I do have a French background and the French love drinking their coffee, and I love the taste and smell of coffee, I usually make a Nespresso using my Nespresso machine. Sometimes I make a little cappuccino. I have a little milk frother to use. But I'm also really into matcha lattes. Matcha's super caffeinated, but I love the taste too. So that's the other thing I have. So to answer your question, either espresso, cappuccino, or if I'm not drinking coffee, a matcha. And I also love decaf. It was my dad who got me into that. He always drank decaf. Probably had the same kind of sensitivity to caffeine as me. So I drink decaf whenever I can. So there you have it, everybody. That was my first time doing a Q&A with you. I hope you got something out of it. And if there's any other questions you want to see me answer, please leave them below. I'm happy to do another one of these videos at the end of the month as kind of like a way to get to know you. And yeah, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.